when we approach and discuss health and healing from a viewpoint of metaphysics and personal empowerment and spirituality, it's really important to understand that the ego in us can get very, very triggered. And so I work a lot privately with people one-on-one to help them deal with their conflicts in consciousness that have blocked them from fully embracing their life force energy and understanding why they have allowed themselves to experience some kind of dis-ease or illness, or a life-challenging illness that might be a message about something that's out of balance in their lives. And often that is part of what it is. So I've been a spiritual healer for many years. I discovered my gift back when I was very, very young, fortunately, I guess. But healing and teaching are so much of the same thing, because expanding someone's consciousness, learning to expand people's consciousness, is a big part of the healing process. And when you expand and change your consciousness, your physical reality, your interactions with other people, everything in the physical world around you shifts and changes. And that's so important to realize, because when you're dealing with a health issue in your physical body, we often approach it from a position of, let me do something physical. Let me go get this regime. Let me make sure I get good night's sleep. Absolutely. Let me change my diet. All these things, very valuable. But if I don't change my consciousness and the conflict in the consciousness, then no matter how much I do physically, it can help to mitigate and slow down the process, but it can help to cure temporarily, but it doesn't necessarily heal. And it can fix a condition temporarily, but it doesn't change anything. So the ego in us wants to fix and cure, and the soul and spirit wants you to heal, evolve, and change. And there's the first key to moving from a place of, I've done everything I can do around this disease, this illness, and I need to know what's next. So in other words, you've gone to the doctor, you've got the diagnosis, or whatever, you know what's going on, you've read up on it, you've learned about it, and unfortunately you don't want to give your power away to too much of what the media says, because, and I love this, when it says something's incurable, to be incurable means it's curable from within. That the doctors don't know how to do it, but you need to learn how to do it within yourself. That's really what incurable means. Because I don't believe there's anything that is, any illness, health issue, disease, that is more powerful than your connection to the divine, that is more powerful than God, Goddess. And that conflict in your consciousness around that your relationship perhaps spiritually is where there needs to be some healing, there needs to be some balancing, there needs to be some integration, because it's the ego in us that separates from our power, our soul and spirit, tries to run our own lives, and it becomes very, very frustrated. And when you can realize, no, wait a second, let me find the balance in myself. And so much of what healing is, in the definition I like of healing, is a return to wholeness. Healing is a return to wholeness and a return to balance. It's a return to the essence of your purpose and being. And when we get too far stretched beyond that by getting stuck or lost, or also it can be that, the healing, the illness or disease rather, this conflict, this crisis that you may be in or going through, or somebody who is ultimately, one of its messages is a wake-up call to say, I've got to do things differently. I've got to create change. I've got to shift and change my perception of myself. I need to let go of my own self-punishment, my own self-sabotage, my own self-repression. And those can be part of what the message of the illness is, what illness comes from. And illness isn't just one thing. Our ego wants a simple answer. And often it looks like, okay, the illness comes from God. God is punishing me. That's why I have this cancer. God has punished me. That's why I got, acquired immune deficiency syndrome or whatever. God is punishing me. And that is never, ever, ever, ever the reason why you're ill and sick. God does not use punishment at all. God loves. And God's love is unconditional, meaning God, Goddess's love allows you to create your own reality. To be made in the likeness and image of God is to be made as a creator of reality. Hear that. You are a creator of your reality. And now people say, well, I didn't create this cancer, and you didn't consciously create the cancer. Absolutely you didn't. And this is not about blame. It's about understanding how to shift and change a condition that is a wake-up call or that is very, very difficult and challenging for you. And once you get the message of what this dis-ease is, of what this illness is, then the messenger can leave. As you make appropriate changes, as you implement what the message is for you. And it's such a powerful time to look into review and to understand that the first key to understanding and healing is to realize this is not a punishment. I didn't do something bad and wrong. God is not a parent. Goddess isn't a parent. They are, and we project our parents onto them, and that's not the case. And that's the first conflict in our consciousness that needs to be resolved, is that this is not a punishment. You are not bad and wrong. You're out of balance. There's a conflict within your consciousness that you came here to resolve in this lifetime. There are some karmic issues that you decided to bring into this lifetime. So a child who's born with a dis-ease or an illness, that's often a karmic issue that they're here to help accelerate their path in this lifetime, and they're here to grow, and they're here to teach other people. And so it's not always one simple answer, but the ego loves the simple answer. Is okay, it's God's fault, he's punishing me. Why? Because of the shame I have inside of me that's unresolved, that says that would make sense, that God would be punishing. And a person who's filled with shame and hasn't resolved their shame, that makes sense to them. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm a bad boy, I'm a bad person, I have all this shame, and therefore I deserve to be punished. But that's not the case. That's the shame in you that's responding, not the truth. For the concept that we're born as sinners and we're worthless human beings, and that you need to be saved in order to have any sense of value, it makes sense to people who are so riddled in shame that says, yep, that's me. I've always felt not good enough. I've always felt worthless my whole life, and I was born that way. No, you were born in sin, born in shame, because you adopted some of the shame from your mother when you were inside of her for 9 months, and then you come into the world and you get dumped on shame and you identify with it. Or the ego part of you identifies with it. And as you are all here on a metaphysical journey in spiritual growth, hopefully your spirituality has been about clearing out some of the debris from the past, clearing out some of the things that have been conflicts within you that have held you back. And that's the personal growth work that is necessary to elevate and to connect with that part of you called your soul and spirit. To be able to fully embrace your destiny as an empowered spiritual being, we need to shake loose of all the limited parts of ourself that we have identified with through our ego. And often a wake-up call for somebody who's been, and I'm not saying this is everybody that's ill, but some people that get really sick and ill later in life, and they have followed their ego, and they have denied their soul and spirit, and they have gotten into all that matters about them is how they look and how they appear and how they function and how they feel, and they have totally denied anything that's real, that is eternal within them. By listening to their ego, they often will have a dark night of the soul, which is a wake-up call to say, you've got to make some changes here, and it shakes you. You can't avoid when your body is betraying you. You can't avoid that. But the fact of the matter is, we all need to understand that healing is not a judgment. And it is a process, or illness and disease is not caused from God. It is not God punishing you. It can be a message from your higher self and your soul about where you're out of balance, and this can be the wake-up call that says this is a chance to start over again. This is a chance to reboot yourself. This is a chance to look at everything in your life, at what's working and what's not working, and to make changes for you. And a person especially who's been in martyrhood, who's denied their own value, their own worth, and denied themselves and feel misunderstood and unappreciated and taken advantage of, and they have martyred themselves throughout their lives, and they take care of everybody else and they deny themselves. Disease is an excuse for sometimes then it's my turn. It's my turn to get the attention. It's my turn to be taken care of. And that's very common with breast cancer. Breast cancer, the breast represents mothering. And when you've been mothering, which unfortunately in our world, mothering and martyring is often tied together, because mothers have learned to be martyrs, and not bad and wrong, but a lot of them have done that. And so it's the martyrhood taking care of everybody else and putting your own needs last, that this disease is saying, you got to stop doing this. You've got to take care of yourself. You're out of balance. And sometimes it becomes so loud as the whispers you've been getting your whole life becomes a shout when you experience the fact that there's lumps in your breasts. And I got to stop. And now it's my turn to take care of myself. It's my turn to be nurtured. And it's because of the conditions in the situation that it's not that you're bad and wrong. Please don't understand me. I'm not judging here. I'm just saying that this is one of the common things that I've worked with clients over the years. And when you can get the message and when you can understand it and you can shift and change your consciousness to start to let go of those judgments, to start to value yourself, to start to awaken your aliveness for life again, and to have a sense of the future, you can shift and change any dis-ease.